into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Chasing That Paper, presented by VegasInsider.com. And as you can see, I'm here representing my Miami Heat. I am the world's #1 supporter. The Miami Heat. Just a little bit of sarcasm there. I got to show some respect to Heat culture, though. We faded Miami all throughout the regular season. If you watch the show, you know this. They were the worst bet against the spread, and we took full advantage during the regular season. We took full advantage of that plus 11.5 line last night. What the hell was that? So shout out to the Heat as they move on to the second round. We'll discuss that a little bit more in the second half. Just an epic collapse by the Milwaukee Bucks. My God. Yeah, so we'll break that down. Talk a little NFL draft in the second half as well. But, guys, we're running hot here on the show. 4-1 yesterday after going 5-0 the day before. So we're going to try to bring that winning energy right back into today. 9 total picks here covering the NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball. Here to help me do it all, Kevin Rogers, my coworker down here at Vegas Insider. Kevin, how are we making out today?
I'm doing well, Joe. That Heat shirt you're wearing, number 6, is that LeBron James or Mario Chalmers?
I would not wear a Mario Chalmers shirt. He's a chump.
It's an insult to Tito. Big insult.
Producer Tito's favorite athlete is Mario Chalmers. Yeah, LeBron James. My favorite era of basketball is the Miami Heat Big Three era. A lot of people, most people, 99% of people would disagree with that, but I wasn't a fan of LeBron James until he joined the Heat. Everyone turned against him. I went towards him. It was a lot of fun. Drama at its highest level of all time in the NBA. The Venom, that was when, social media was taking off and stuff like that. So, yeah. So I bought the shirt to support LeBron James. So here we go. We'll see if the Heat can continue on. Maybe meet the Lakers in the finals. Who knows? Rematch of the bubble. I'm not predicting that will happen, but you never know. Okay, so we got a lot to get into here, Kevin. So no more beating around the bush. Let's get right in to the action. Only one game in the NBA tonight, but I got 2 picks for it. Of course, the Celtics trying to close out the Hawks down in Atlanta. My first pick for this game, I'm going to take the Celtics to cover the first half spread, coming in at -3.5 points. Let's get right into this one. So Boston has absolutely owned the first half in this series, outscoring the Hawks in 4 of the 5 games by 8, 12 again, and 30 back in game 1. An insane +11 first half point margin in these games. Easily the best in the playoffs, and such a huge gap offensively in the first half here. Specifically in the first half. An EFG percentage of 63.9 for Boston, 51.2 for Atlanta. So the Celtics have fallen off a little bit in the second half in this series. So I'll happily take them where they've been hot and hope they come out flying after choking away Game 5. Celtics, first half spread. All right, next up, we got a player prop for this game. Going to target DeJounte Murray of the Hawks. His points, rebounds, and assist numbers sitting there at 33.5. Boom! Absolutely love the over on this one. Let's get right into it. So a major stats increase for Murray here in the playoffs. This is often the case for star players, and Murray's no different with an increase in minutes here. In the playoffs, he's averaging 38.4 points, rebounds, and assists in this series. He's topped this number of 33.5 in all 4 games. And, of course, he's coming off a suspension. Extra rest due to that suspension probably helps a little bit, at least. He'll be the freshest of the 10 starters on the court tonight. Hopefully playing with a little bit of an edge here as well after stupidly getting suspended for that altercation with the referee. Give me Murray over 33.5 PRA. All right, Kevin, let's move to the ice. The Maple Leafs trying to close things out in Toronto. They going to get the job done or what?
No, not tonight. I think that Toronto could eventually win the series, but you know what this means, Joe? You have to trust the Maple Leafs in a big spot to advance to the next round, and I like Tampa Bay tonight, and I'll go down with the ship with Tampa Bay. 3 consecutive Stanley Cup appearances. And look, Toronto looked awful in game 1. They played very well in game 2. They're coming off 2 overtime wins in Tampa in games 3 and 4. So obviously, close games, end of regulation, Tampa Bay. I'm just not ready to quit on them after these 2 losses. And see that last line? This is my analysis. Lightning never dead. I can't do it, especially against this Toronto team that we know doesn't win a lot of playoff series. We've seen them, they blew the 3-1 lead to Montreal a few years ago when they were in control of that series. And, they lose last year at Tampa Bay in 7 games. They lost game 7 at home. I'm going to have faith in Vasilevsky. I'm going to have faith in all those guys on the Lightning and what they have. Obviously, Toronto's very talented, but maybe Toronto wins game 6 on the road. Maybe you look at that as a possibility. But Tampa Bay, I got to take them, got to bark with the dogs and take them in game 5 tonight.
All right, Tampa Bay to extend that series. Battle of New York, New Jersey next for my pick in the NHL. Who do you think I'm going with? Give me New Jersey. The Devils coming in at -120. I like them to take care of business, pick up a 3rd straight win in the series. You dig into the analytics from this series, and the edge absolutely belongs to the Devils. Better in terms of expected goals for, Corsi for, and high danger chances for percentage, where they rank 1st, and New York obviously ranks last. Akira Schmidt, the pride of Bern, Switzerland, has been absolutely lights out in between the pipes here for the Devils. He stepped in to save the season for New Jersey under enormous pressure. He's allowed just 2 goals in his 2 starts. It wouldn't be the first time an unsuspecting goaltender stepped up and stole a series in the playoffs. And is a home team finally going to get a win in this series? Is a home team due with the road team winning all 4 games so far? I think so. Give me the home team. New Jersey Devils -120. All right, Kevin, let's go over to the diamond. We got 4 total picks for Major League Baseball. Start us off.
Well, you're going against the Rangers in hockey. I'm taking the Rangers in baseball tonight, Joe, as they are back at home taking on the Yankees in Arlington. And Texas, look, a lot of people are going to say they're fraudulent after they picked up some nice wins earlier in the season. Then they played the Reds this past week, last 3 games on the road, and they had huge leads. They were up 6-0 in game 2, allowed 7 straight to lose. They lost in a walk-off homer yesterday. So, Cincinnati, who was swept by Pittsburgh this past week, and the Pirates have played very well, but just a bad performance by the Rangers in Cincinnati. I think going home now will end up, they're going to play a little better. The Yankees have lost 6 straight series openers, so they've been bad in that. Also, the Yankees off a big win at Minnesota yesterday. Garrett Cole, we talked about it, Joe, when we had our Yankees preview. I thought at the time, even though he was the favorite, I still believed in him to lead the league in strikeouts, and he's been phenomenal so far this year. But I think this is the time you could fade him. That everyone sees how bad the Rangers were this past week, and the Yankees have played well, and Cole has been great. But Andrew Heaney's still a pretty good pitcher for Texas, left-hander. I think the Rangers be focused coming up back at home here, and you're getting him as a nice underdog. Let's back the Rangers tonight in the series opener against the Yankees, Joe.
Okay, let's keep rolling here, Major League Baseball. Guys, it is walk prop time! Indeed. I got 2 walk props. Let's start off with Shohei Ohtani. I think he's going to show us at least 2 walks tonight. Over 1.5 walks for Ohtani, coming in at plus money, plus 115. So he's had 2 or more in every full start this season. What I mean by full starts, you might recall he was limited to only 2 innings pitched in Boston last week due to a rain delay. But in the others, he had 3, 4, 5, and 2. Check this out. Among the 110 starters with at least 20 innings pitched this season, he ranks 103rd in walk percentage. He did face Oakland in his season opening start. He had 3 walks in that game. The A's don't do much very well at all, but one thing they do well is walk at a high percentage. They have the 5th highest walk percentage versus right-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks. Give me Ohtani over 1.5 walks. All right, Kevin, you have a prop you like tonight, too. What do you got?
We're going to go with the strikeout prop tonight, Joe. Nationals and the Mets. Nationals actually beat the Mets the last 2 nights at Citi Field, which is kind of amazing. But I know you love this show, so I'm going to tee it up. Trevor Williams' revenge game. That's right, as he takes the mound for Washington against New York. He had a long tenure with the Mets. He was with them for like a season. But he's facing the Mets tonight. And I like Trevor Williams over 3.5 strikeouts. And when you look back at what's happened so far in the series, Mets have actually been pretty good as far as not striking out against starting pitchers until this series, when they struck out 9 times against Josiah Gray in the opener, 10 times against Mackenzie Gore last night. And this is a low total, just 3.5, so 19 strikeouts in the first 2 games. Also, how about this number? New York has struck out 4 more times against starting pitchers in 7 of 8 home games. So they definitely do, or 7 of the last 8 home games. So they definitely do strike out a decent amount against these kind of pitchers. And this is, again, low total. Mets not hitting the ball well, coming off that West Coast swing. And also the Nationals, not saying that this is going to mean anything for Trevor Williams necessarily, Joe, but Nats starting pitchers, they have hit the over in 4 straight games on their K-prop. So at least, a little bit of momentum there. I mean, Patrick Corbin has done it, and we know how awful he's been. And I mentioned Gray and Gore, what they've done. That Trevor Williams trying to follow suit. 4 strikeouts isn't asking a lot. If he can go 5 innings, he probably gets it. So let's go with Trevor Williams over 3.5 strikeouts when the Nationals go for the sweep of the Mets tonight in New York, Joe.
All right, let's wrap up the pick section of the show with the most exciting bet you can make tonight. No, it's not for the NFL draft. No, it's not for the NBA playoffs. No, it is not for the NHL playoffs. I am talking about another walk prop. Indeed, we will target Tyler Mahle, the Twins, Mahle. Either way, we're taking under 1.5 walks for him. This is the most exciting bet you can make tonight. Minus 125, so decent control through 4 starts here. 5 total walks in 4 games for him. He stayed under 2 in 3 of those games, which included allowing 0 walks his last time out. Great matchup here to make this bet because the Royals have Major League Baseball's lowest walk percentage versus right-handed pitching. This team lacks discipline, god damn it! And he's never walked more than 1 in his career in Minnesota. Only short, right? He only made 4 career starts in Minnesota since he joined the team last season. So small sample size, but trends need to start somewhere. Hopefully this one continues and we'll be able to hammer it as the season goes on. Give me a Mahle under 1.5 walks. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Whew. Fired up. Okay, guys, if you're watching on YouTube right now, and if you like the show, it's easy to let us know that you like the show. Just hit that like button right down there. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button right down there as well. It makes me look good. The more likes we get. So if you've won with us the past couple days, hit that like button. And if you're looking to get some action in tonight, I recommend getting that action in over at BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Let me tell you a little bit about them. If you're looking for a new sportsbook, we have a deal for you. We've got an exclusive offer for Vegas Insider users. Sign up with BetMGM. Use that promo code VI bonus match. You will get up to $1,100 of your deposit matched by BetMGM. That's code VI bonus match, all one word, no spaces, for a first bet deposit offer up to $1,100. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 years or older to wager. Offers for new customers only. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. All right, so let's not sugarcoat it for a goddamn second here, Kevin. What we saw from the Milwaukee Bucks this season, entering the playoffs as the favorite to win the NBA Finals, as the #1 seed in the East. This is one of the biggest collapses in the history of the NBA. So let's dissect this a little bit. So let's look at the history of this matchup between the Bucks and the Miami Heat a little bit. So, of course, they met in the 2021 playoffs where the Bucks easily swept the Heat. They beat the living shit out of them in 4 games. And a quote from Giannis, I think it was at the end when they wrapped up that series, he said, "We didn't want to play with our food." And they did not. But guess what they did this time around? They played with their food. And what I'm talking about, I think they mismanaged this Giannis injury. So, of course, that didn't help him when he goes down in game 1. They lose that game. They bounce back big time. Nice win in game 2 by them. But they mismanaged the injury. I think Giannis could have probably played in game 3, but they took the Heat lightly and they held them out and they got their ass kicked for the rest of the series. I think that was a turning point in the series. So why do I think they mismanaged the injury? Well, they held them out in game 3, kind of probably based on the idea that they beat the shit out of the Heat in game 2. Giannis comes out the next game, plays 38 minutes, has a triple-double. He plays 40 minutes last night, had 38 points, 20 rebounds. You're telling me he couldn't have played in game 3? Maybe if he plays in game 3, the Bucks win that game, and they go on just to easily win the series, as they should have. So that's one part of it. And then you got to take a look at these epic collapses in the fourth quarter in these last 2 games. So game 4, they're up by 14 points at one point. In the fourth quarter, they end up losing by 5. Then game 5 last night. This was a complete and total disgrace. They enter the fourth quarter up by 16 points on their home court. Then it was just a complete and total comedy of errors. From there, we saw Giannis throw the ball away late in the fourth quarter, not taking the timeout to advance the ball. Only half a second left. Yeah, but we've seen guys hit shots with half a second left many, many times in the NBA. And how about some adjustments on defending Jimmy Butler? Just a little bit, maybe a little bit of a strategy defensively on defending the guy who went off for, 56 the night before? Goes off for 40 last night. No adjustments whatsoever. So just flat out embarrassing, totally outcoached. Now, a lot of people calling for a Coach Bud's head. I think that's completely fair. They have massively underperformed, so I think he's going to be fired here within the week. And I think Nick Nurse sitting there in the wings, I think he'd be a great candidate to fill in and take the job. So another big part of the equation here is how much of the blame does Giannis deserve? We hold our superstars to different standards, don't we? Now, if LeBron James were in this situation, he'd be getting absolutely killed in the media. And I do think Giannis deserves some criticism here. Sure, on one hand, you take a look and you say, well, Joe, he scored 38 points and had 20 rebounds. What else do you want him to do? Well, I'd like him to actually hit some free throws and perform in the fourth quarter a little bit. He went 1 for 9 on his shot attempts in the fourth quarter. Free throws, 10 of 23. So that's just flat out the exact opposite of clutch. So that is a choke. So he does deserve some criticism here. So everything combined, all that stuff I just said, combined with the fact that they were the favorite to win the NBA championship, one of the biggest chokes in NBA history. So, Kevin, what do you think? Is that fair to say, or do you just have to give the Heat a lot more credit here?
Well, there's a couple things here, Joe. Number one, that it's amazing to see that the Heat were in the play-in tournament, got destroyed by the Hawks, and were down late to Chicago and should have been eliminated. And now they're in the second round of the playoffs against the Knicks, a very winnable series. Not saying they're going to win it, but they have a very good opportunity. It's a toss-up series against New York. Jimmy Butler, 42 last night, 98 in the last 2 games. I mean, he is, as the term they use, he's a dog. That he just comes out. You're not going to get any soft performances from him. I think with Giannis, it's a couple things. Number one, you mentioned 13 missed free throws. It's inexcusable. You can't have that. Secondly, Giannis, I think, gets a pass because he's a nice guy and he's won a title. And that's where you don't look at that with like an Embiid or maybe a Jason Tatum or a Luka or someone like that who hasn't won yet. That because Giannis, he's nice to the media, he doesn't blow up, he doesn't do any of this, that I feel like he does get a pass, but he shouldn't get a pass. And I heard the same thing you heard about Game 3, that they could have played him, and they didn't. And they figured, okay, sit him out, he'll be fine. This isn't the Nets you were playing, where the Sixers totally outclassed them. The Bucks don't totally outclass the Heat. They still have a star in Jimmy Butler on their team. Brooklyn didn't have any stars, so it was okay to sit Embiid for a game. So I don't know how serious that back injury was with Giannis, but again, Giannis, he got his points last night. Yes, he struggled late, but you need the other guys to step up. That's what it is if you want to win titles. If you're not getting Drew Holiday to step up, you're not getting Middleton, you're not getting these other guys to step up, or the bench guys, you're in big trouble. And I don't know if we confused Milwaukee thinking they're as good as Philadelphia or Boston or not, or this was a bad matchup for them. Also, Joe, you forgot to mention, the bubble in 2020 where the Heat knocked out the Bucks in 5 games, and I know Giannis was hurt, and there was all these other things going on in the bubble. So Milwaukee had that in the back of their minds going into the next season. They destroyed the Heat thinking, all right, we got their number, but they really don't have their number. And it's just a great job by Miami, great job by Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler and this team to do what they did. And Milwaukee's got a lot of question marks. I mean, maybe the bud of, tenure is over. They need to probably move on from him. And you mentioned Nick Nurse as a name. I don't know if he's going to take a year off or what to try to recharge after Toronto. But, Milwaukee's won a title during this span. But also they've had some disappointing exits in the playoffs. You can't lose 4-1 as a number 1 seed. I don't care what the circumstances are. You just can't do it, Joe.
Okay, so what do we make of the quote making the rounds this morning? Giannis, basically to sum it up, saying, hey, that their season, just because they didn't win the championship, their season isn't a failure, and this shouldn't be considered a failure. And I actually like the analogy that he used. He said, to the reporter, just because in your life, if you're not getting a promotion and a big raise every year, then is that considered a failure in your line of work? No, it isn't. So big picture, this isn't a failure in Giannis's life, considering where he's come from and what he's been able to do through the sport of basketball. But looking at the situation they're in, yes, it is a failure. You lost in 5 games when you were favored to win the NBA championship. Like, if you look at this series tonight, if the Hawks go out tonight against the Celtics, is that considered a failure for their season for them? No, because no one expected them to do anything. However, if the Celtics blow a 3-1 lead and the Hawks win that series, then 100% that's a failure from the Boston Celtics. So I like the analogy that he used, but I do think that you do have to look at things a little bit different. And I think some of this comes from, like what you said, people like Giannis. He's a nice guy. I don't think that there's a person out there that dislikes him. You don't often see him get testy with the media like he did with the guys. So what did you make of the quote there about their season not being a failure?
I think he's in denial. I think he's in absolute denial with that, Joe. The Purdue Boilermakers, you're telling me that's not a failure? You lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament to a 16 seed, but you got to the tournament, so it's okay? No, it's a failure. You're number 1 seed. You're favored to win the title. I'm not one of these people, Joe, that says title or bust. I don't go there because I think when you get to the championship of a sport or, the finals, I think, sometimes that's good enough. Then you're playing an excellent team in that round. So if you lose, you lose. But you couldn't win more than 1 game against an 8 seed, and you couldn't get past the first round. It's a total collapse. It's terrible. And there's no sugarcoating it with Milwaukee. You can't say, well, it was a nice season. No, it wasn't. You were supposed to do a lot more. You won 50-plus games. You're supposed to get to the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals. You couldn't win more than 1 game. Your superstar still played in these games. It's not like Giannis was out the entire series. He missed 1 game, 1.5 games, I guess. But it's a failure. Like, I don't understand how people can think that it's not and it's okay. It's an attaboy. It's not. You can't just pat yourself on the back and say, it's okay, don't worry about it, there'll be better days. No, you blew it. You lost. And you allowed the top player on the other team to score nearly 100 points in 2 games against you. Like, there's nothing more about it. Like, you failed. And I understand that you can't win the title every single year, but there's got to be progress. And that was a major regression by Milwaukee here.
Yeah, there's no excuses. They can't blame the Giannis injury, which I think that they did mismanage, because on the other side of things, Tyler Hero, the Miami Heat's 3rd most important player, you can kick that around if you want. He missed the final 4 games of the series. So, no excuses here for the Bucks. And congrats to the Heat, who will be playing the New York Knicks. Some 90s nostalgia there in a second-round matchup, so we got to give the Knicks a little bit of credit, too. They smacked around the Cleveland Cavaliers. Pretty good. You take a look at the Cavs. Hey, great regular season team, but they got to fill out that roster a little bit here in the offseason, don't you think? What the hell were they doing, giving Kevin Love away for basically nothing, who contributed for the Miami Heat, right? So they had absolutely nothing. They were extremely flat in that series, the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, we give the Knicks a nice pat on the back. That's going to be a fun series. So they have series odds up for that. We put up a poll on the VegasInsider Twitter feed here this morning asking you guys to weigh in. Who's winning the second round series between the Heat and the Knicks? I don't know, man. Flip a coin. I might just say Miami because they got the plus beside their odds. But the Knicks played great in the first round, and they did have Miami's number in the regular season as well. And that's kind of what I look at it a little bit because the Knicks had Cleveland's number during the regular season too. Do you have a strong opinion on this one at all, Kevin?
Toss up. I mean, we'll see what Julius Randle's status is. Obviously, he's not 100% for the Knicks, but gotta give Thibodeau credit. Gotta give the Knicks credit that they really shackled the Cavaliers in this series, and I would have expected a little more from Cleveland. I saw a number of Donovan Mitchell is something like 2-14 in his last 16 playoff games. It was some crazy number, and how bad that his teams have been. And look, I gave the Cavs more credit going into this series. I thought that they were probably better than the Knicks, and New York has just got better supporting pieces, and that's what it is. That Jalen Brunson obviously showed that he doesn't need Luka with him. Going to New York, he's been excellent with the Knicks. R.J. Barrett has held his own. Randall, when he's healthy, is an all-star. And some of the other guys, the Josh Hart acquisition was very good for the Knicks. And for the Heat, look, you're not going to see these high-scoring games, I don't think. I think you'll see more grinded-out games when they play New York as opposed to what they did. I don't think the Heat will be scoring at will like they did against Milwaukee. Yeah, I could see this being a 6-7 game series. You kind of go to the throwback with the old days of all the fights at the Miami Arena and Madison Square Garden with Jeff Van Gundy hanging on Alonzo Mourning's leg. It's nice to see. And I can't believe the Heat or Knicks is going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, that to me is crazy. But it should be a pretty good series. Right now, I don't have an opinion on who's going to win it, but it should be a pretty good series.
A stat here from producer Tito. Donovan Mitchell-led teams are now 3-12 straight up and 2-13 ATS in their last 15 playoff games. Yeah, I don't know if you blame that all on Mitchell. Like, he stunk, especially in the last two games of that series. I think Evan Mobley gets a little bit of a pass. People want to talk about him as a guy who's got all the potential in the world. It's like, okay, dude, you got to start showing it here at some point. So a bit of a no-show there for Mobley as well in that series. So back to the drawing board for Cleveland. We'll see what they do in the offseason. So taking a look at some other series prices here. Relevant ones. The Lakers were hoping to close things out last night. They just didn't have it last night. They were close at one point, but a bit of a no-show by them. So they go back home, up 3-2. They can close things out. Minus 425 for them to win the series. Now, if you're a believer in momentum, you can take the Grizzlies at plus 340 on the other side. The Warriors, hey, they won on the road. Minus 900 now to win that series as they go up home up 3-2, looking to close things out there. At this point, I think we all want LeBron versus the Warriors. Is that fair to say? And one we discussed yesterday on the show, the Phoenix Suns minus 140. I'm taking the Nuggets plus 120 to beat them. That one, home court advantage for the Nuggets. They are the deeper team. And even though the Suns won in, 5 versus the Clippers, they need to play Durant and Booker into the ground versus essentially a team of revived Russell Westbrook and a bunch of role players. So I don't know if that bodes very well for them. Some rest for them will absolutely help. Okay, Kevin, let's move on to the main event of the night here, the NFL draft. So no intrigue whatsoever. At number one, Bryce Young is now minus 2,000 to go first overall to the Carolina Panthers. I think they're making the right choice. And Will Anderson has been moving all morning. As of this very second, he is minus 350 to be the second pick overall in the NFL draft to go to the Houston Texans, who look ready, apparently, to pass on a quarterback here. So this is when the draft starts at number 2. Kevin, what's your prediction? Who the Texans going to take here?
Well, I would have said C.J. Stroud would have been their guy because they need a quarterback, and I don't really subscribe to waiting a year hoping that you're going to be a top team again in the draft and maybe get Caleb Williams from USC if he's your guy. I just don't believe that you can gamble like that and hope that you're bad. But look, we talked about this thing a few weeks ago, Joe, that if if Houston doesn't think that any of these quarterbacks fit their system, so be it. If Will Anderson is the best defensive player out there and it's going to help their defense, all right. I mean, because you're passing on guys doesn't mean that you think they're not good. It just means that one guy is just better for you. So there's a lot of good choices for Houston. But when you look at all these quarterbacks, here's what I find funny, though, just backtracking a second, that remember when Carolina got the #1 pick from Chicago and C.J. Stroud ended up being the favorite, that you could have got Bryce Young at plus money to be the #1 pick? That I feel like just wait for all these guys to be at plus money at some point, put a little bit on it, and then it'll flip back. So now Bryce Young, you probably could have got him at plus 200 or 300 to be the #1 pick, and now all of a sudden things have changed where he's going to go to the Carolina Panthers likely. But as far as the Houston Texans go, I would have thought C.J. Stroud, in spite of all the news this week, that he would maybe go #2 to the Houston Texans, get a quarterback. Think he's even if you don't start him, if Davis Mills is still your guy. But I don't know. I really don't know what these teams don't see in Stroud. I mean, Anthony Richardson is a great athlete, but he wasn't very efficient at Florida. Will Levis, it felt like he was the top pick going into the draft after the season, and then he was going to be a second-round pick, and now a second pick. And it's just all these things. I don't believe anybody. I don't know anything. Nobody knows anything. It's all a guessing game. When it comes down to the end with this, Joe, this NFL draft is all a guessing game.
And that's the fun of it. I don't know what's going to happen. It's great. Usually you have a bit of a picture here, like you can mock the top 5 and you'll get 80% of it correct, at least 60. We're nowhere close to that going into this draft, and that's what's going to make it fantastic TV. Now, Stroud and Levis both off the board in terms of over-under draft position right now. Anthony Richardson sitting there at 7.5, and it is interesting for the Texans, who appear to be ready maybe to throw in the towel on yet another season. You'd think that they would take a shot at quarterback at #2. Davis Mills. Case Keenum on the roster right now at quarterback, but maybe they see a lot in Anderson. Maybe they look at Will Anderson and say, hey, this guy can be a perennial Pro Bowler for a decade for us. And maybe they get the 12th pick. Maybe they would look to trade up and see what happens with the other top quarterbacks here in the first round. They do look ready to throw in the towel a little bit, though. It's tough to say. And maybe they're just looking at let's draft the best available player. And maybe they do view Will Anderson as the best available player. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't be shocked if they took Stroud. No, I think they thought that they were just going to make out like bandits when the Panthers traded up to get that #1 overall pick because, as you recall, Stroud was the favorite right around -300 to go to the Panthers. They probably thought, hey, we're going to get Bryce Young here. This is fantastic. It's not going to work out for them, though, is it? Okay, let me tell you guys a little bit about the Vegas Insider app. It gives you all the major sports betting odds at your fingertips, along with the latest picks and expert breakdowns. You can shop for the best odds, find props, features, and plenty more with the app. Download the Vegas Insider app on Apple or Android. Bet better with the Vegas Insider app. All right, Kevin, winding right down here. Strong show today. What do you have going on out there that Chasing That Paper viewers can check out?
Well, you can go to our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider TV. We have plenty more NBA playoff best bets. I have one for Celtics Hawks tonight that you can find on our YouTube channel, and we'll probably have a best bet for one of the NBA games tomorrow as well. And then looking forward to the weekend, Joe. We'll have it on some of these other games now that we're going to transition to the second round, which is going to be very exciting. And we'll see which of these first round series end up maybe going 7 or ending, in the next few nights. We'll see if the Hawks can upset the Celtics tonight. But yeah, check it out. YouTube, our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider TV, as we have our best bet videos there. And that's where you can find them, Joe.
Yeah, NFL best bets draft, NFL draft best bets video up there on the Vegas Insider YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out. Ian and I broke those down on Monday. My favorite pick for the opening round, now I didn't check the odds on it this morning, would be for the Detroit Lions to select a cornerback. Their top pick, I got that at -130. I like that one. I like over 4.5 quarterbacks to go in the first round as well. Before we send you guys off, let me tell you a little bit about today's Handicapper Heat Check presented by VegasInsider.com, your home for the best expert picks in the business since 1997. Bill Marzano continues his impressive streak with an 11-2 NBA playoffs run, a 3-0 MLB record yesterday. Bruce Marshall crushed books yesterday with an 11-2 all sports record. And Mark Franco, 10-3 in his last 13 NBA picks. He's on a 7-1 last 8 in his last 8 in the NHL playoffs. Visit VegasInsider.com/picks for some of today's MLB action. Tonight's playoff top plays. That's your handicapper heat check. Stay hot, bettors. All right, we're going to wrap things up in and out in about 32 minutes, Kevin. Very effective, productive program here today. So I'm going to be right back with you guys tomorrow. Ian will be joining me. We'll have our best bets for, of course, NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball. And we'll recap what we see in the draft here tonight. So, Kevin, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to producer Tito for producing. Thank you, dear viewer, for checking us out yet another day. Enjoy the draft tonight, guys. Best of luck with your bets if you made any, unless, of course, you are fading us. And as always, keep chasing that paper. Yeah! Woo!